my baby, my Valentine, yeah. Boy, now you done making my temperature that rise. If you leave me, I go die, I swear. You are like the oxygen I need.
To the ID parade, and that is why I'm emphasizing that you can't now say this is now the proper identification of the person with the dreadlocks, because then what do you say about the one that she made just few hours after the incident happened?
Ngoba lesike sona ke sange 27 amahora nje ambalwa ke emuva kokuthi isigameko senzeka ke la khona nje akhuluma kuphela ke ngama dreadlocks. Ingakho ngisho ke manje ke ukuthi awukwazi ukuthi ungathatha nje na lesike la asho ukuthi ama dreads aphela kuphi ke, kodwa lesike usishaya indiva sona.
Yes, my lord, that's my answer.
Thank you, Brigadier. My question, Brigadier, is actually my question was and still is: did you take up the issue of the identification subsequent to paragraph 6, having read paragraph 6, take up the issue of the description of the perpetrator who had or was in possession of a firearm on the day of the incident? Did you take that issue with Ms. Makumalo?
I don't recall, my lord. But like I don't recall. But like I said, my lord, at that stage when we met Ms. Makumalo, the accused were identified. That part we were already far ahead. This was not the beginning. That is why, my lord, if you look and that is why I try to explain that and that's my understanding, and I'm sorry if I understand Mr. Mnisi wrong, Advocate Mnisi, that when A12 was composed and then subsequently A58 was composed, it was at an initial stage, my lord. Police were trying to find grabs of identifying the perpetrators. There was nothing else they had, my lord, which is a different situation when I came on board. So we started on a different angle, and it will create a confusion if we don't understand these angles, because this was the initial stage. They needed to rely on the people who were in the house to identify the perpetrators. When I got involved, I received information initially from Zungu, then Mr. Absalom Zungu kicks in. We got to accused number 1, then the first confession kicks in, supported by confession by conduct in terms of pointing out, my lord. Then exhibit HA and JJ kicked in. So we built on that. It's not the same approach as it happened here. We approached this matter from different angles.
Lana ke kuzofanele ke sibuke ke ukuthi ke uma kuthathwa le statement ke kwakusemaqaleni ke okwenzeka ke noma kwenziwa kwalo ke uphenyo, futhi ke nohlangothi ke olwaluthathwa ke laluhlukile ke uhlangothi engathi mina ke uma sengiqala ke manje ukuthi kube mina ke ophenyayo ngangena ke noma ngathatha ke uhlangothi ke oluhlukile ke kulona ke lolo, ngoba ke ila khona ke manje sekune statement ekhona evelayo sakhe umsolo wokuqala, futhi ke seyokhomba futhi kwalandela ku HH kanye naye ke uJJ okungenza ke ngendlela ehlukile. Ingakho ke ngithi uma ngabe singawalandeli ke lama approach noma le ndlela ezahlukene ke ila kuzoba nendida khona.
Yes, my lord. So I do not have a recollection of us ventilating paragraph 6 as Advocate Mnisi is asking me, my lord.
Angikhumbuli ke nanje ngoba engibuza ke uAdvocate Mnisi ukuthi esekushilo ke lokhu uma phuma lokubhaliwe ke la ukuthi ngase ngimbuza kabanzi ke ngakho.
Thank you. This is I think it's an elementary approach to every investigating officer, let alone an investigating officer at a commissioned level. There's a witness who says, I was in the house, I saw this incident happening, and the person who was carrying a firearm had dreadlocks that hung up to his neck. Then what an ardent investigating officer would say, Ma'am, are those the only features that you saw of this, now I'm trying to assist. Are these the only features that you saw of this person that you said was wearing a firearm? You say he had short dreadlocks. What else can you remember about him? What about his color? What about the clothes that he was wearing? What about his height? What about his movement? What about his gait? What about his this? What about his that? What about... that is what an ardent investigator would do. Now, from what I'm getting from you, you did not do that, not so?
No, my lord.
Thank you.
No. When I say no, I'm saying no to the assertion you're making. I'm not agreeing with you, my lord. I'm saying, my lord, and I think I've explained this. It was not a one-on-one discussion. It's not the same, for example, when I interviewed Mr. Madlala with regard to this. There was no prosecution involved. I indicated the difficulty or the situation that was that when Mrs. Khumalo came, she was legally represented. So when we met her with the state advocate, we met her under the supervision of a lawyer. And obviously then discussions then ensued from there, my lord. Now, and I've already indicated as well, my lord, that because of the ID parade that was then done back then, which was an issue, there was a decision taken. I don't want to take the court back on that, my lord. So, but the point of clarity as one of the witnesses who were in the house was important, my lord, and a lot of issues per her statement were ventilated, because I recall questions that were arising as they were taken up by the state advocate and I think myself were in relation to the statements that she made, nothing else, to say this is what you said, what your recollection, etc., etc., etc. So it was in that sense, my lord, but I do know, as I've said, that the position was never taken to say she must be part of an ID parade, my lord.
Lana-ke njengoba ngishilo-ke lokhu ngaphambilini ukuthi ke kwangasimina-ke owayehleli-ke ekhuluma naye-ke uMakhumalo, nanjengoba kwangafani-ke ngenkathi ngangine-interview kanye naye-ke uTumelo. Ngishilo nokuthi uma eza-ke noma uma ifika uMakhumalo wayehamba nommeli wakhe nomshushisi-ke futhi-ke ekhona-ke lapho, noma esebuzwa-ke imibuzo-ke kubuzwa mayelana ney'tatimende zakhe azenza, futhi-ke ngasho nokuthi-ke uma kuphathelene noma kuya ngendaba lena-ke yayo i-ID parade, lapho-ke akuzange khulunywe naye-ke mayelana nakho lokho.
So the essence, my lord, of my response is that it is not the same where as a IO you approach your witness with the hope of getting identification evidence, or to establish whether your witness can identify a particular suspect. It is not the same when there's a watching brief, because some of the things as they are communicated, the attorney comes in, because obviously it's there for the purpose, my lord. That's not a similar situation, my lord. So in essence, I'm saying one cannot then be said you should have done 1, 2, 3 as if it was a sole situation where me as the IO, I'm sitting with the witness and then I'm expected to do certain things to get a certain result. That will apply if it's one-on-one or I'm there with my team. But when there's a watching brief and obviously there's a state representative in terms of a state advocate, I think the rules of engagement are different than my lord.
Engikushoyo-ke lana ukuthi-ke kuyahluka-ke nokuthi kube yimina-ke noma ngihamba nethimba lami futhi-ke siyoba ne-interview nomuntu-ke loyo noma ngihlezi naye-ke kuphela-ke, kodwa lana-ke wayehamba nommeli wakhe futhi-ke nomshushisi naye ekhona-ke, ungathi-ke ubuza lokhu kube la ummeli angenelela khona-ke. Iyehluka-ke manje indlela-ke osebenzisana ngayo nomuntu uma kuwukuthi-ke kukanjalo.
Yes, my lord, that's my answer.
Thank you, Brigadier. You know, it's very interesting. When you are saying, even the prosecutor was there. Because these are the essential, because the prosecutor knew that at one day, very soon, I'll have to go to court and tell the court that, hey, these are the people who were involved in the commission of the offense. And this is how they are linked with the commission of this offense. One of which is the capability of the people who were in the house to identify them. When you sit there with the prosecutor interviewing, as an investigating officer interviewing a witness, irrespective of whether or not there's an attorney there, an identification of a witness, the description remains a description. Now, we are basically saying, in essence, you never take through this witness. You never ask this witness about the color of that suspect. You never ask this witness about the height of that person who had a firearm in his possession. You never ask this witness as you interviewed.
Survive, I'll be on.